Welcome back to Count Me In. I'm Adam Larson, and today I'm joined by Draye Redfern, the founder of FractionalCMO.com and Redfern Media. We're diving into strategies for thriving through turbulent economic times, as outlined in Draye's book, The Recession Survival Guide. In our conversation, Draye shares practical, actionable tips and walks us through his anchor framework, from attracting leads to nurturing relationships to optimizing operations and maximizing retention. We'll discuss how teams outside the sales and marketing, especially in finance, can use these principles to break down silos and add more value across the company. So if you're looking for fresh, effective ways to prepare your business for whatever comes next, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Well, Dre, I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today. We're going to be talking a lot about your book, The Recession Survival Guide. And there's a lot of uncertain times right now. And I think people are really kind of wary about what's happening with the markets going all over the place with uncertainty, especially in the US markets and even the worldwide markets with everything that's happening. And in your book, you kind of stress the importance of focusing on the bigger picture during turbulent times. So maybe you can kind of share that approach for teams and what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm certainly happy to do it. And thank you for having me, Adam. I think that no matter where we're at right now, people feel that times are turbulent. They've said this 5 years ago. They said this
Yep.
20 years ago. They said this 100 years ago. So there's always uncertainty in any market, no matter what you're facing. So if you lead with that, then it sort of takes the conversation in I think, a more interesting dynamic. And what I mean by that is, on average, depressions typically in Western countries happen oftentimes about every 100 years on average. Recessions, you can argue, like we were in a 1-month recession during the times during COVID in early 2020, whatever. On average, recessions typically happen about every 11 years. So if you take that as a baseline, we're more or less due for both. Cool. Maybe that happens. Maybe it doesn't. But it's probably worth preparing for it either way, like having your financials figured out, having good risk management practices, having a good way to consistently generate leads, having an offer for your services that is, recession agnostic. It doesn't matter whether recession is going to go on or not. Like, there's a reason why, Warren Buffett invests in companies like Gillette, because men are always going to need to shave their faces. Like, this is just a reality. And so if you're selling one-off tchotchkes that are cheap European import or Chinese imports, then if times get tough, that's going to be the first thing that people are not going to buy. And so your offer structure, what are you actually doing to serve the market? What does your team or structure and financials look like? Are you way over leveraged? Like fixed costs versus variable costs inside of your business. There's so many different sort of avenues. I think a business owner should just do it now, because if a recession happens, no, you don't have a crystal ball. I don't have a crystal ball. But if a recession were to ever happen, which it will, with absolute certainty, it will. It's a matter of when. Then you're much more geared up to take advantage of it. Like, a perfect example of this is a lot of the businesses who were not ready for COVID. What they did was the first expense they cut, like, oh, markets are going down, everyone's freaking out. Stop the marketing, stop this, stop that. Is what many did. For the businesses that actually kept advertising, the law of supply and demand. You had a lot less people in the market wanting to advertise because they all cut their spend. And so their dollars went way, way further. So we have some clients that were getting 3 and 4x the amount of reach on the same dollar spend that they did 6 months previously, because the market dried up. People pulled out of it. They were no longer advertising. But it's the people who have confidence in a plan, that know the financials and know the team, know fixed and variable costs in the business, know what it takes to acquire a customer, all of these sorts of things, have a really solid foundation. So if and when something happens, they can capitalize on it. So for those clients of ours that were really push the gas pedal during, early COVID times, they crushed. They absolutely smoked it, made so much money that you can't do now for the same amount of spend, because people are all advertising again. So there's a lot of ways to sort of take that. We can, dissect this any way you would like, but I think that's really a matter of, much like if you've ever sold a business. I'm fortunate enough to have ever, sold 2 businesses at this point, one of which was to a Berkshire Hathaway company. no matter what you're doing, if you ever want to sell the business, whether it's in 6 months or 6 years from now, get it ready to sell today. And that's essentially my philosophy when it comes to running a business, is like, get the business in order today, because like I said earlier, it's not an if, it's a when, on when some recession or black swan event will happen for most businesses. And so we can certainly use that as a jumping off point, I guess.
Yeah, that is a good jumping off point, because like a lot of questions come to mind, like what does it look like when you want to get your business ready to sell right now, and then like a follow-up question is, what if you work for a place that's not looking to sell anything, but you want to hey, like I want to raise the red flag and say, hey guys, we need to get ready.
So I think that when it comes to getting ready, I write about this in the Recession Survival Guide. I also write about it in a new book that's coming out called Anchor Marketing. And what essentially it is, it's a framework on how to market way, way more effectively in your business. So your offer, your structure, your baseline foundation is really, really solid. Now, what I mean by that is, if you were going to build a house, you're going to erect all the scaffolding, and you're going to take the time, and you're going to put the trusses on there and put the roof on there and do the facade, but you built the dang thing on a foundation of sand, you're kind of like, you're stuck up creek, and it's not going to be very long until that thing comes crashing down, even though the dang thing is beautiful. But that's how a lot of people run businesses. That's how they run departments. They do all of that sort of stuff. They don't take the time to build a really solid foundation. And Anchor can be that for a lot of people. So I'll run people through it. Anchor stands for attract. So how are you attracting new leads, new interest, awareness, eyeballs? Every business tracks something different. What does that look like? What is that awareness factor? So how are you attracting people in? I typically recommend businesses have at least 3, because if you're only relying on word of mouth referrals, then, oh man, John Smith went out of business because times are tough. And he's like, well, I'm 65 anyway. I'm just going to shut the doors to my practice. I'm not going to, I'm done. Well, there's your primary referral source that went up in smoke and you had no control over it. Enjoy those referrals, but you should then have at least 2 more options. Maybe that's paid traffic. Maybe that's direct mail, which I absolutely love. Maybe that is some sort of outbound or cold email or whatever it is that you're doing. There's 1,000 different ways you can skin that cat. Do 3. That's attract. The second part is nurture. Most businesses operate in a sense of, hey, we got a lead in. They didn't buy immediately. They're dead to us. And that's it. They have a whole, you look at their HubSpot or their Salesforce or their high level or whatever it is that they're using. And there's, if not hundreds, if not tens of thousands of emails of people that have not been contacted. And so the second part is nurture. And the easiest thing that I recommend a lot of businesses to do is take the 52 most asked questions in your business. What is that? Is it about pricing? Is it about how you serve them? And then build some sort of collateral off of that, so that you could more or less write and address all of the objections that someone would have in working with your service, and you turn it into a year-long email sequence, 1 email per week. You can nurture those people over the course of a year, but here's the magic little sauce that most people miss. At the end of that first year, you tag them to begin back at the beginning, because do you remember an email that you got a year ago?
No, I can barely remember emails I got today.
Exactly. And that's the reality of it. So you could essentially, for a singular action, do something today, and maybe it takes you today and tomorrow, whatever it is. And then you have it locked down to nurture these people indefinitely until the time is right, where they're like, I'm finally ready to change providers. I'm ready to do this thing. I've been pushing it off. I got the email today. I'm finally ready to make that decision. Typically only between 1% and 3% of any market, whether you're buying a car, buying marketing services, buying financial services, are ready to make the decision today or in the next 2 weeks. Most people don't pay any attention to that. So by adding a simple nurture sequence like that, it can go a long, long way. The third part of Anchor is convert. What is the conversion elements that you're using? And most people are only well, we're only looking at leads, or amount of calls on the books. Cool. What other conversion elements have to occur with that prospect before they become a client? So that could be, what is the amount of leads or opt-ins that we've gotten on our white paper or PDF or ebook, whatever. How many of those converted to booked calls or demos, sales calls, whatever the jargon would be, depending on how the business operates? How many sales calls? How many conversions off of those sales calls? What conversion elements are you looking at? Because it's never just one conversion. Someone just doesn't like raise their hand today and immediately buy, sign up, sign a retainer, whatever it's going to end up being. But knowing what that is and then optimizing that, conversion journey, really, really simple thing. Put dashboards on it, track it weekly or to bare minimum monthly, because it then also acts as a leading indicator to the business of, hey, if awareness is going down, leads are going down, call books are going down, closes are going down, you're going to know 1 to 3 months ahead of time. So you can really put some gas on that. So you're not like looking up and like, there's more month than money this month. We got to like figure something out. And it becomes a, 911 emergency. That is the C. Kind of also relates to the O of Anchor, which is optimize. What are you trying to optimize for? Every department will throw, especially if it's like a bigger company, they'll throw all of their metrics to the C-suite and say, here's how great we are. But in the reality is, are they the right metrics to be tracked? And a lot of businesses do not take enough time on this. That could be, like I said a second, it could be visits per month. That could be calls booked, whatever else. What are you trying to optimize for? Usually, most businesses should optimize for about 5 things. It's going to be different on every business, but I'll give you an example for us. I want to know eyeballs or impressions per month because we drive traffic, etc. I want to know what total impressions are per month. After that, I want to know what actual opt-ins or new leads are per month. Like, if they're under nurture sequences or something like that. I want to know amount of calls that are booked per month. I want to know the close rate off of that call, or like the close percentage off of that, meaning we got X amount of, we had 10 calls, we sold 3 people, it's a 30% close rate. And then finally, at least for me, I want to know LTV, lifetime value. For us, on average, a client stays with us for 17 months. So I know that if it costs me, I'll just use round numbers, $1,000 a month we were to sell a service for, and someone stays for 17 months, that's $17,000. Most businesses do not know that, which if you did, it allows you to treat your marketing really, really differently. How much would you spend to get $17,000 in the door? Now, if you know your operating costs and whatever else, and call it, maybe it's a $5,000 to serve that client, I'd spend another $5,000. I'd spend $10,000 sometimes to get get in front of the right people, to get those people in the door, because I know my numbers way better than most other people. Now, profit margins are going to be different, like amount of time to service a client. Like there's 1,000 other variables there that are going to be different on every business. But knowing that, huge, huge catalyst to create more leverage in a business. So that's attract, nurture, convert, optimize. I skipped H of Anchor. H is humanize, because I can't spell today, I guess.
I was going to call you on that. I was like, what about the H? Because you just jumped to the O.
Yeah. The humanize side of things. Everything is right now AI, which is cool. And I love it. And we use Perplexity, Claude, Gemini. We use them all. And like a ton of other secondary ones. But the reality is, if you send emails out that are simply just like, hello, contact, first name, ampersand, and that's what you're using to quote unquote personalize your marketing via your email autoresponder, it ain't cutting it. Like with the humanized side of things, we're no longer in a B2B world or a B2C world. We are in an H to H world, human to human. So we have a connection right now. We've talked before this podcast. We're talking now. There's an actual connection. We're looking at each other, albeit on a screen. There's a connection that exists. There's a humanized element to it. For most other people, there's some level of that in business, whether you're talking from, CEO to negotiate a deal, or business owner to financial services provider to do X, Y, and Z, whether it's CPA work or bookkeeping or some sort of financial services, whatever the thing is, there's conversations that go on. You need to have some level of rapport. And so if you're marketing, manufacturing that rapport really, really goes a long way. So you can do things, mass produce handwritten notes with a robotic handwriting printer that's not like an inkjet that's just like, whatever else. It's a robotic hand where you can insert your Uniball or your Mont Blanc or your whatever it is you're going to write with. And it literally sets, draws, lifts, sets, draws, lifts, where the ink bleeds actually exist. So I could send Adam a handwritten note that says, "Hey, Adam, thanks so much for having me on the podcast today. Really enjoyed talking about X, Y, and Z. All the best," whatever else, and never lift a finger. This technology's been around for about a decade. Like, we bought one of these machines about 10 years ago in the former company that we sold. And every time someone would become a client, they would get a handwritten note from us, but we would never sit there and write it. But the messages back and the rapport that was created was huge because, wow, like, no one writes these things anymore. And it creates a human to human element. That's an example. I'm giving like high level strategy and tactics at the same time. So hopefully everybody's tracking. Something else you can do is not new. It's from a book, basically 100 years old, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, one of the top selling books of all time. The sweetest sound to someone's ears is the sound of their own name. So I try to use it all the freaking time. And so as an example, if we were sending like an email sequence out, I could send out 10,000 videos, maybe not today because it's towards the end of the day. I could send 10,000 videos out tomorrow, or however long the process takes, maybe take a day or two to generate all of them, that would say, "Hey, Adam, Draye Redfern here. Hey, Bill, Draye Redfern here. Hey, Susan, Draye Redfern here. Hey, Veronica, Draye Redfern here," along with the rest of my video, and use AI and voiceover matching to basically swap Adam for Veronica, Veronica to Susan, Susan, and it will move my lips. It'll sync up my audio, do all of these sorts of things. So I could send hyper personalized videos, humanized videos to prospects or clients, wishing them happy birthday, wishing them like, "Hey, I enjoyed our conversation on our sales call. Looking forward to following up again." These sorts of things that allow people to feel like, dang, they really go the extra mile. And I feel like that's the world that we're in. Like, yes, AI is great. It is still a tool. You got to use these things to your advantage and do it in a way that is not sleazy or unethical. So that's attract, nurture, convert, humanize, which we had to backtrack on, optimize. And then finally, R is retention and recurring revenue. For a lot of businesses, especially like in your market, recurring revenue is going to be built in some form or fashion. That's the nature of the business, which is great. That's amazing. But what is retention? And so if recurring revenue is built into it, what is the retention level? For some, it'll be 60%. For some, it'll be 95 or 98%. It depends on sort of the structure, their offer, how they're doing things, etc. So if businesses don't have either of those, make a freaking offer that has some level of recurring revenue, because there's gardeners and there's hunters. I'm a Texas boy. I like to play in both ends of that field. Like the hunting side of things, let's go land a whale of a client and have like the hunt, the excitement of it. But now we've done that. Now we've got to go do the whole dang thing again. Whereas a gardener mentality, like, you do the work today, you could plant the stuff today, and you can keep reaping the rewards of what you've planted, not today, but in 3-6 months from now, and it can keep reaping all of those rewards. That is like retention and recurring revenue. Go attract, go do all that sort of stuff. Go hunt the big game or the whales or the client, whatever you want to use. But all like the retention and recurring revenue part is an underpinning of a business that brings so much additional certainty and clarity to how like you have to make decisions on a day-to-day basis, where, you know what, like if you're having to go hunt every single client and it's a one-off, that's a bad place to be. So if you have the recurring revenue, then optimize the retention. And again, it's going to be different depending on every niche and sub-niche, but you can use actually a lot of the humanized tactics to then improve your retention and your recurring revenue side of things. So that could be on your birthday, because I know your birthday because you're a client, that I call you on your birthday to say, "Hey, just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. It's Draye Redfern with fractionalcmo.com. Just wanted to let you know I'm thinking about you today. Love that you're a client. Really appreciate you and hope you have an amazing day. All the best. Take care. If you never need anything, just let us know. Bye-bye." Now, what I did not do there is use your name. But I could drop a voicemail onto your phone, bifurcate the ringer so that your phone never even rings. You look down, there's a missed call from me at our company line, whatever else, wishing you a happy birthday, entirely automated. So it's things like that that you can do that can, man, my insurance agent, my financial advisor, my freaking plumber calls me every single year on my birthday to wish me a happy birthday. Who do you think I'm going to call the next time I need plumbing work? Or you know what? John Smith, my friend at our barbecue, is complaining about his financial advisor, insurance agent, or CPA, or whoever else. Dude, you got to go see my guy. He calls me all the time. They don't drop a beat. Like, he wishes me happy birthday every time. Like, it allows so many more natural word of mouth, like referrals to come about of that from existing clientele by simply dropping a few of those nuggets into an existing process. So that is the anchor framework. I think of a lot of businesses, like I could talk for 10 hours on this stuff, but I think a lot of businesses implement, like most businesses typically are lacking very poorly in at least two of those elements. But if you have a really solid anchor framework sort of implemented, the amount of confidence that you have in running a business is like tenfold because you know where the leads are, you know how they're coming from, you're diversified on your lead gen. You know how to nurture them because not everybody buys today. You're optimizing the conversions and really tracking that. You create human to human interactions because I don't want to leave a friend if I'm doing business with a friend. Whereas if you're a number, I can leave you much easier. I know the numbers that I need to optimize for. So I have my leading indicators and my lagging indicators, and my offers dialed in with my retention and current recurring revenue. And those are continually going up and to the right. If you have that, holy smokes, like the business that you're then running is a dramatically different beast. And that becomes way, way more fun.
Yeah, it does. And as you were talking about that, I couldn't help but think about people who are part of internal teams who might not be dealing with the marketing side, who might not be dealing with the external customer. Can you apply this framework as an internal team to help break down silos, to help the organization become a better culture and all around?
1,000%. In fact, most of the people who end up like reading my stuff or like finding out about me is via stuff like this. And then hey, I got this idea. Let me go implement it. And like, it starts with one person can like make a profound impact in a company. So let's just say it's somebody in a department. Well, that somebody in a department could realize after this, like, you know what, let's just say, like, give me an example of a department. Let's pick something on the fly.
We'll say the finance and accounting department, because that's who the listeners of this podcast are.
Yep. So the finance and accounting department of a company. Well, typically overlooked. They're typically kind of the dry people. They're like, oh, there's just the pencil pushers over there in accounting. That is the stigma that is out there, whether you like it or not. So easy to combat that. So if someone is in the finance or accounting department, you could do something on the human to human side of things. So let's just say that, let's just use like an accounts receivable person. Someone like bills are getting paid. Let's reach out. Well, instead of just like, sending an email, you could drop a voicemail onto their phone, bifurcate the ringer and be like, hey, this is Draye from accounts receivable at XYZ Financial. I just wanted to reach out because we're delayed on X, Y, or Z. And I just wanted this to be the first touch. I'll try you again later, but I wanted you to actually hear from me instead of just getting a phone number, like, or an email or whatever else. Done. I could record that once and send that out to every single person that was ever delayed on their payment without ever having to open my mouth again. That is a variation of that. Finance and accounting. God, there's so many ways that you could slice and dice this. I would say like let's play, like, give me a second. We'll play this out. So let's go a subset of finance and accounting. What is a role of someone in finance and accounting, and what are they doing on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, we could go a number of different ways. So let's say somebody from the FP&A team, and they're part of the strategic plan. They're helping build the strategic plan for the organization.
Okay, great. If they're starting to build the strategic plan for the organization, that one's way too easy, but we'll do it anyway. What are the numbers that need to be optimized for? So not just are we profitable, profit margins, like, our A&R and like all the other sort of stuff, managing the P&Ls, et cetera. A lot of we work with a lot of fractional CFOs across a lot of businesses that we work with. The ones who really crush it whether they're in a big fractional CFO company or they're a CFO in another company, are the ones that then know the numbers of other aspects of the business. Because most businesses typically, sales hates marketing, marketing hates sales. Because marketing, I give you the good leads and you can't sell them. You're like crappy salespeople. And the salespeople hate marketing people because you give me all the leads and they're all garbage. I can't sell any of these. So if there was someone out there that knew these numbers and was putting together all the structure of things, then they could know, hey, looking at our P&L, looking at, where we're profitable here, et cetera, we did this thing and this thing in marketing that resulted in those things in sales and ultimately this amount on the bottom line. But the problem is most of them are all too siloed to say, hey, our P&L is great this quarter. Keep doing what you're doing. Or we suck. The house is on fire. Market more. But if you integrate more of those things and you actually have dashboards that can optimize your marketing, top of funnel, your sales, middle of funnel, and obviously the bottom of funnel after the fact, the P&Ls, et cetera, of organizational planning and things, now all of a sudden you're playing with a full deck. Yeah. But most financial professionals, they put the blinders on, they stay in their lane, and that's all they choose to do. So simply, if you just did the O side of things and optimize and look at more of the numbers from across the business, where you may think like, oh, cost per lead is totally irrelevant to me, I think you may be pleasantly surprised.
Well, and I think that's what I was kind of pushing on, because the CFO should be doing those things and their teams should be doing those things. And so maybe we can talk about some ways that you've seen the CFO work with the marketing, work with the sales folks and bring everybody together, because the CFO is kind of the glue, because they hold the numbers, they hold the strategic plan. They're that business partner that you need in these situations.
The problem we see, though, is most of those people are not actually integrating as many things as they should be, is how we'll probably say it.
So one thing you and I spoke about when we first chatted, you had mentioned, Jay Abrams' concept of playing in other people's sandboxes. And I wanted to push on that, because obviously, you do a lot of things in the marketing, helping people in marketing, but other people from other sandboxes tend to listen to you. And so I want to encourage our listeners, how can they start playing in other people's sandboxes to learn those things, to bring them into the finance and accounting team to make things better?
So, Jay Abraham is... he is the marketing godfather, is how I'll probably say it. So for those of the listeners who don't know who Jay Abraham is, Jay is a marketing legend. He is the highest paid marketing consultant on planet Earth. When I last checked, which was, 6 or 8 months ago, if you want to work with Jay, it's $180,000 a day.
My goodness.
A day.
So
it's not cheap. But he has an incredible way of looking at things that most people will never, cannot replicate. And I was fortunate enough to spend about half a day every month for about a year with Jay a few years ago. And he completely shifted my paradigm in so many different ways. And one of them is what you just mentioned, and that is playing in other people's sandboxes. And so the problem is, if you only go to industry events, you only regurgitate the same industry stuff. Okay, that's cool. We're making incremental steps upwards. We'll do this next little thing, tactic, and that's not working anymore, but I'll go to another event and we'll try this other little tactic. And we're stacking tactics. Whatever. Every business is different. But Jay's philosophy on many of these things is, okay, you're some sort of financial professional. What if you went to a marketing conference with only marketers, people who run marketing agencies? Or if you're a financial professional and you went to some sort of, some other, a plumbing conference, whatever, you're going to be hearing, I don't know why I keep talking about plumbers today, but you're going to hear different things that are working in different industries. Now, much of that jargon will be completely irrelevant to you. And that's okay. You don't care about Teflon, PVC, PEX, plumbing, whatever else, because you are in the financial space. But how they're thinking about problems or what they're doing in their market to market differently than everyone else is in your market allows you to take a nugget from over here and take that back to your sandbox and do something that no one else in your industry is actually doing. So an example of this, I've got dozens and dozens. I've had 8,700 law firms as clients until we sold a business previously. Lawyers are very unique individuals. Some of the most successful lawyers that are out there don't go to ABA conferences, American Bar Association conferences. They go to real estate conferences, or they go to CPA conferences, or they're going to other things like that of industry professionals that are not in their industry. Because, well, for a few reasons. Number one, the whole Jay Abraham sort of idea or theory where I could take a nugget from a real estate agent conference and back to my legal practice. Great. What it also allows them to do is hey, I'm a real estate attorney, or I do some amount of real estate in my practice. Going to law events, maybe I can, increase my knowledge of the legal field. I'm going to go to the people who are going to be the best possible referrers of me, and I'm going to go to those events. Now, most other people in the space do not do that. And so it's simply taking an existing paradigm of how everyone else thinks and just making a slight tweak on it, and it could be dramatically profound. So I've gone to ABA meetings. In fact, I went to every ABA meeting for nearly a decade. And real estate events, I go to CPA conferences. Those are a bit more dry, I'll be honest. You name a professional service segment, I've been to many, many, many of those events, which has allowed me to take a lot of those nuggets and aggregate them or amalgamate them into something that is hyper unique that no one else is talking about. And so I love the Jay Abraham sort of philosophy there. And the other side of thing, one of Jay's great thoughts is the Amazon School of Marketing, where if you offer a service of any kind, find the books of people like you that are written on Amazon and go read the reviews or the testimonials that are done on Amazon. You're going to learn what people like about that book. You're going to learn what issues, questions that people have that were not addressed in the book. You're going to see the questions that were addressed in the book. So for marketing purposes for your own stuff, you just had your copy, your website copy, your marketing copy, your collateral generated for you by simply doing and finding what other people are doing in the space and reading the reviews that other people are using off of similar books, etc. So those are two of 5,000 Jay Abraham things. But it's just like I said, small hinges swing big doors. And there's so many small hinges that you could do in any business, whether you're an entrepreneur operating like an entrepreneur, but in the confines of an existing business, or you're the entrepreneur, or you're working in sort of a stacked sort of silo of people in your team. Any one of these things you could use to operate more effectively in your job, bring more ideas to the table so that man, all of a sudden, where did Adam get all these great ideas from that we could use for X, Y, and Z project that's coming up? Well, he's just listening to the podcast. Count me in. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah. I love that. And I encourage everybody to check out Dre's books. He's got a new book coming out. He's got a book that, so we'll have links to that. Connect with him on LinkedIn, learn more here because we're kind of coming to an end here of our conversation here, Dre. But I really appreciate you sharing your insights and just going through those things. And I hope that everybody got some nuggets for you and then they kind of dig to learn more as they go along.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I enjoyed it. I could talk about this stuff all day. If the anchor concept resonated, we have a new book coming out. It is called Anchor Marketing. You can go to anchorbook.com, download it. We're going to have a free version of the book and a $3 version of the book, largely just to get it in as many hands as possible, just to try and help as many businesses as possible. So it's not a revenue generator for us, but purely a way to sort of give back and spread the word of really helping businesses dial these things in. So we can include more of the links to the Recession Survival Guide and other stuff later, but I think that's if that resonated with people today, that's an easiest next place to start.
This has been Count Me In, IMA's podcast, providing you with the latest perspectives of thought leaders from the accounting and finance profession. If you like what you heard and you'd like to be counted in for more relevant accounting and finance education, visit IMA's website at www.imanet.org.